Hi, my friends. Today I want to present you a new story. Enjoy watching it. I remember that frosty winter morning vividly. The streets were slick with ice, the kind that made walking treacherous. I was late for work again. My fingers clutched my coffee, its warmth a stark contrast to the biting wind. Each tick of my car's dashboard clock felt like a countdown to disaster. My mind was occupied with mounting stress from work. Mr. Morgan, my boss, had been relentless about punctuality. I couldn't afford another late slip. As I navigated through the crowded street, I noticed a man lying motionless on the pavement. My heart raced. I ran over, kneeling beside him. His face was pale, his breathing shallow. I checked his pulse and kept him awake as best I could. A passerby called for an ambulance, and I stayed by his side, my own anxieties temporarily forgotten. I could hear the distant wail of sirens growing louder, and with each approaching sound, a glimmer of hope stirred within me. When the paramedics arrived, I reluctantly left, feeling a pang of guilt as I looked at my watch. Late again. The office buzzed with tension when I walked in, Mr. Morgan's eyes locking onto me. "Hayden, you're late." "Again," he said, his tone sharp. "This is your final warning." I tried to explain, but he was unyielding. My day was a blur of worry. I decided to visit the man, whose name I learned was Samuel Turner, at the hospital. His recovery was slow, but I found solace in these visits, offering what comfort I could. Days turned into weeks. Each visit to Samuel's bedside was a small escape from my own spiraling situation. Mr. Morgan's warning loomed over me, and as the pressure at work intensified, I found myself more committed to Samuel's recovery than to my fading job. It was during one of these visits that I realized the true impact of what I had done. Samuel's gratitude and resilience became a beacon of hope, helping me face my own growing uncertainties. The more time I spent with Samuel, the more I learned about his past. He spoke of a once vibrant life filled with music and family gatherings. I discovered his love for playing the piano, which he hadn't touched in years due to his health. These revelations added a layer of emotional connection between us, deepening my resolve to support him through his recovery. Samuel's stories became a source of inspiration, reminding me of the beauty and strength that can emerge from adversity. In the midst of this, I began to realize that my own journey was intertwined with Samuel's. His strength and spirit were a reflection of my own struggles and hopes. Our lives had intersected in a moment of crisis, and through our shared experience, I found a renewed sense of purpose and determination to face the challenges ahead. Without a job, I faced the harsh reality of financial instability. I sold personal items and took on odd jobs just to make ends meet. But despite the mounting bills and looming eviction, I continued my daily visits to Samuel. His presence became a source of solace in a tumultuous time. One day, as I entered the hospital room, Samuel looked more alert. He greeted me with a weak but genuine smile. Our conversations grew deeper. Samuel shared stories of his past, his dreams, and his regrets. He spoke of his love for music and his family. I listened, finding comfort in his tales. The hospital room, with its sterile smell and incessant beeping, became a haven of shared stories and growing friendship. As we talked, I learned that Samuel had been a musician of great talent, whose career had been cut short by his declining health. His stories of lost opportunities and unfulfilled dreams resonated with me. I began to see our bond as a form of therapy, a way to navigate my own struggles while offering support. Samuel's daughter Clara arrived for a visit. Her concern for her father was palpable, and I noticed the tension in her face. She had been juggling a demanding job and caring for Samuel from afar. Her arrival marked a turning point in our interactions, as Samuel's family began to acknowledge the role I had played in his recovery. The day Clara arrived, she shared stories of her own challenges, revealing her own struggles with balancing work and family. Our conversation revealed the complexities of caring for a loved one, and Clara's empathy and understanding deepened the connection between us. It became clear that Samuel's recovery was not just a personal victory, but a shared journey for all of us. It was a cold morning when I arrived at the hospital to find Samuel's room unusually quiet. The doctors were in a huddle, their faces serious. Samuel's condition had worsened overnight, and he was now in critical condition. The gravity of the situation struck me hard. I sat beside his bed, holding his hand. "Samuel, you're going to get through this. You have to," I whispered, tears welling up. Samuel's eyes fluttered open. He looked at me with a mixture of sadness and gratitude. "Hayden, you've been my light in this dark time. Thank you for everything." I choked back a sob, squeezing his hand. "I'm here with you." The days that followed were filled with tense waiting and fervent prayers. Samuel's condition seemed to fluctuate, and each day felt like an emotional roller coaster. I spent hours by his side, talking to him, recounting our shared moments. One evening, as I was preparing to leave, the head nurse approached me. "Samuel wants to see you," she said, guiding me to his room. Samuel looked at me with a weak smile. "I wanted to say goodbye, Hayden. You've given me more comfort than I could have ever hoped for." I struggled to keep my composure. "Don't talk like that. We're going to get through this." Samuel shook his head gently. "You've been my anchor. If I don't make it, I want you to remember that you've made a difference in my life." That night, I sat alone in the hospital chapel, seeking solace. My life seemed to be unraveling, but Samuel's words reminded me of the impact of compassion. It was a bittersweet realization, but it gave me strength to face what lay ahead. I realized that Samuel's struggle mirrored my own, and through our shared adversity, I found a renewed sense of purpose and resilience. The following morning, I saw a group of volunteers preparing for a charity event in the hospital lobby. Their dedication and kindness to those in need inspired me. It was a reminder that even in the darkest times, there was light and hope in the acts of others. Samuel's impending farewell and the kindness of those around me gave me a sense of perspective and a renewed determination to face my own challenges with grace. The job center had become an unwelcome second home, where each visit seemed to blend into the next. The routine of sifting through job listings and receiving rejection emails had become monotonous. As I walked into the job center, I tried to maintain a semblance of hope despite the mounting pressure of my situation. "Hi, Hayden," came a familiar voice from behind the desk. I turned to see Clara, Samuel's daughter, standing there with a warm smile. My surprise was palpable. "Clara, what are you doing here?" "I've been working here part-time," Clara explained, her eyes brightening at the sight of me. "I'm actually here to help people like you find job opportunities. I'm struggling to find work. The rejections keep piling up." Clara's expression turned serious. "I'm sorry to hear that. Let's see what we can do." She guided me to a workstation and began browsing through job listings with focused determination. Her efficiency and familiarity with the system were impressive, and I could tell she was genuinely invested in helping me. "Here's something that might suit you," Clara said, handing me a printout. "It's a position for a customer service representative at a local company. I think it aligns well with your skills and experience." I took the printout, examining the details with cautious optimism. "This looks promising. Thank you, Clara." "No problem at all," Clara replied. "I know it's been tough, but don't lose hope. I'll keep an eye out for other opportunities and let you know if something else comes up." As Clara and I continued to review potential job leads, our conversation shifted to more personal topics. Clara spoke about her father's recovery and how much his progress meant to her. Her dedication to Samuel and her genuine kindness were evident, and it was clear that she was as compassionate in her professional life as she was in her personal one. "I'm really grateful for your help," I said, feeling a sense of relief. "It's been a challenging time, and your support is invaluable." Clara smiled warmly. "I'm glad I can help. You've been such a strong support for my father, and it's only right that I try to support you in return." We spent the next hour going through various job postings and updating my resume. Clara's guidance was precise and encouraging, and I began to feel a glimmer of hope. By the time I left the job center, I had a renewed sense of optimism and a sense of direction. Later that week, I received a call for an interview for the position Clara had recommended. The news was a small beacon of light in the midst of my ongoing struggles. I knew that, even though the path ahead was still uncertain, Clara's assistance had made a significant difference in my journey. As I prepared for the interview, I couldn't help but reflect on how unexpected and fortuitous this turn of events had been. Clara's presence at the job center had provided not only practical help, but also emotional support, reminding me that even in the darkest times, there could be moments of unexpected kindness and connection. The day of the interview arrived with a mix of nerves and cautious optimism. The position Clara had found for me felt like a lifeline, something tangible in a sea of uncertainty. I dressed carefully, making sure every detail was just right. As I stood before the mirror, straightening my tie, I couldn't help but think of Clara and the unexpected turn our lives had taken since that fateful day when I had saved Samuel. Arriving at the office building, I took a deep breath and walked inside, my heart pounding in my chest. The receptionist directed me to the interview room, and I waited anxiously, running through potential questions and answers in my mind. When I was finally called in, the interview process was rigorous, but I felt prepared. Clara's advice had been invaluable, and her belief in me gave me the confidence to present myself with poise. As the interview progressed, I could sense that it was going well. The interviewer seemed genuinely interested in my background, especially my commitment to helping others, something that had inadvertently become my defining trait. After the interview, I stepped out into the crisp autumn air, feeling a sense of accomplishment. Whether I got the job or not, I knew I had given it my all. I decided to visit Samuel at the hospital to share the experience with him and Clara. When I arrived at the hospital, I was greeted by the sight of Samuel sitting up in bed, looking much stronger than he had in weeks. Clara was by his side, her hand resting gently on his arm as they talked. The warmth in the room was palpable. "Hayden," Samuel's face lit up as he saw me. "Clara told me about the interview. How did it go?" "I think it went well," I replied, smiling as I pulled up a chair beside them. "Thank you both for your support. I couldn't have done it without you." Clara's eyes met mine, and there was a tenderness in her gaze that made my heart skip a beat. "I knew you'd do great, Hayden," she said softly. "You deserve this opportunity." We spent the next hour talking, laughing, and catching up on the latest developments. Samuel's recovery was nothing short of miraculous, and he was eager to return home soon. The bond between us had grown stronger with each passing day, and it felt like we were no longer just connected by a single moment of crisis, but by something deeper, something lasting. A few days later, I received the call I had been waiting for. The job was mine. The relief that washed over me was overwhelming, and I couldn't wait to share the news with Clara and Samuel. They were thrilled, and we celebrated with a small dinner at Samuel's home, where he had recently been discharged. As the evening wore on and the conversation flowed, I found myself drawn to Clara more than ever. There was a spark between us that couldn't be ignored, a connection that had been building since the day we met. When Samuel excused himself to rest, Clara and I were left alone in the cozy living room, the fire crackling softly in the background. "Hayden, I'm so happy for you," Clara said, her voice gentle as she reached for my hand. "You've been through so much, and you've come out stronger." "I couldn't have done it without you," I admitted, squeezing her hand lightly. "You've been my rock through all of this." She looked at me, her eyes searching mine, and for a moment, everything else faded away. There was an unspoken understanding between us, a realization that our bond had grown into something more. "Hayden," Clara whispered, her voice trembling slightly, "I think I'm falling in love with you." My heart swelled with emotion as I leaned in closer. "Clara, I've been falling for you too, ever since that first day at the hospital." Our lips met in a tender kiss, sealing the beginning of something new and beautiful. The challenges we had faced seemed to melt away in that moment, replaced by the promise of a future filled with hope and happiness. In the months that followed, our relationship blossomed. Clara and I spent more time together, growing closer with each passing day. Samuel's health continued to improve, and he fully supported our relationship, often joking that it was meant to be. We took things slow, savoring every moment as we built a life together. The job Clara had helped me secure turned out to be a perfect fit, and I thrived in my new role. The stability it provided allowed us to start planning for the future, and we began dreaming of starting a family of our own. As we looked forward to the years ahead, it was clear that everything we had been through had led us to this point, together. Eventually, I proposed to Clara in the very park where we had shared our first kiss. It was a simple, heartfelt moment, surrounded by the autumn leaves that had come to symbolize our journey. She said yes, and we were married in a small, intimate ceremony with Samuel by our side, beaming with pride. The hardships and hardships had forged a bond between us that nothing could break. Our story had begun with an act of kindness, and it had grown into a love that would last a lifetime.